Nancy Hay is from Alexandria, Virginia, and she is, Arlington, Virginia, and she is here with her husband, Kit. And they have been fighting CPS for a number of years now, and she is here to tell us all her story. Let's give Nancy Hay some love. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm Nancy Hay, and I'm a victim of CPS. It started on April 3rd, 2005. I gave birth to my daughter, Sabrina, in Fairfax Hospital. I was living at that time with Kit, who was my soon-to-be husband. Kit, due to a medical condition, had low sperm count, so we had to use an anonymous sperm donor to conceive. Sabrina weighed 7 pounds 4 ounces at birth. At the first post-birth checkup I had with our pediatrician, she had dropped to 6 pounds 12 ounces. I was told that this was not unusual. The pediatrician recommended supplementing my breast milk with a ½ ounce of formula at each feeding, which I did. Sabrina's weight then plateaued, but did not gain significantly. On my third visit, a senior physician in the practice said that this lack of weight gain was more serious than I had been led to believe, and he ordered that I immediately take Sabrina to Virginia Hospital Center, which I did. She was admitted with failure to thrive. The hospital staff instructed me to double the amount of formula I gave her after each feeding, which I did. Then Sabrina started gaining weight adequately. However, on April 19th, this is when the trouble really began, a social worker named Dana Zemke from Arlington County Child Protective Services visited me. She compelled my husband and me under duress to sign a safety plan, saying that a refusal to sign would prevent Sabrina from being discharged. The following day, we were discharged from the hospital with Sabrina weighing 7 pounds 5 ounces, an adequate rate for her age. For the next 2 days, that social worker came to our house to conduct a hostile investigation. By the second day, we had been overwhelmed by the intrusiveness of her previous visits. So we asked her not to enter the house, saying we wanted a time out to consult with a lawyer, and we handed her a letter to that effect. Over the weekend, an attorney immediately attempted to contact her and managed to speak to her sometime late on Monday morning. However, she went forward with a request for an emergency removal order, which was granted by Judge Esther Wiggins Lyle and executed on that day, April 25th. Sabrina was placed in foster care. At the time of the removal, she weighed 8 pounds 1 ounces. On May, the JDR court made a finding of abuse and neglect and ordered psychological evaluations for both Kit and myself by county-hired evaluators. The county developed a foster care plan that was accepted by the JDR court. The plan's stated goal was return home. It imposed several obligations on us, all of which we completed. I was diagnosed with a mild learning disability, pervasive developmental disorder, which presents me with some challenges in reading nonverbal cues. Dr. Giselle Haas, the CPS-appointed evaluator, alleged that this seriously impaired my ability to parent a child. We obtained a second opinion from Dr. Thomas Goldman, a professional of our own choosing, who stated that the disability was manageable and that I could successfully parent with the proper support and services. But Arlington County continued to cling to their position that my disability made me an unfit parent. they refused to offer any services tailored for parents with disabilities. For a while, we had visits with Sabrina in a very baby, unfriendly observation room at the DHS building. They were only 1 hour in duration and usually no more than twice a week. By early September, Sabrina showed increasing signs of distress during the visits, and so CPS terminated all visitation in September of that year. The next month, the JDR court ordered both CPS and ourselves to submit a plan for facilitating the goal of return home and to resolve Sabrina's distress. In December, the court accepted Kit's and my plan, which included regular, frequent visits with increasing duration and instruction from qualified home-based service providers of our own choosing, but we were ordered to pay for these services. In January, our visits were restored. Our service providers familiarized themselves with Sabrina and then carefully reintroduced her to us to restart the bonding process. We had visits 3 days a week in our home. As time went on, the duration of these increased. We received helpful parenting advice, including a weekly parent-infant therapy session. The amount of instruction decreased over time, and the workers commended us on our rate of learning parenting skills. By mid-June, we had more than 20 hours a week with Sabrina, including 2 supervised overnights. We had quality time with her, formed a strong bond with her, and she no longer showed any signs of distress. However, in June, the court accepted the county's proposed change in goal from return home to adoption. The judge acknowledged that we had made significant progress and had maintained contact with Sabrina, but alleged that we were too slow to learn parenting skills. We appealed this to the circuit court. During that appeal, CPS controlled our visits and cut them back to only 1 hour a week. Sabrina's foster parents were also allowed to move out of state with her. The appeal lasted about 6 months. We had simultaneously been challenging the administrative finding of neglect issued by CPS at the time of the removal. This finding would have had our names on a registry of child abuse neglectors for a period of 18 years, along with sex offenders. We appealed this, and the appeal was heard on June 21st, 2006 by a hearing officer designated by the Virginia Department of Social Services. The officer found that the county had failed to prove that Sabrina met the criteria for physical neglect or failure to thrive, and he reversed the decision. Despite being exonerated of abuse and neglect, CPS continued to argue vigorously for the termination of our parental rights with Judge James Allman of the Fourth Circuit Court. On June 1st of 2007, Judge Allman upheld that decision. He showed his prejudice against parents with disabilities, stating that my difficulty in reading nonverbal cues was a major reason why I was unfit to raise Sabrina. He alleged that my learning disability caused Sabrina to be hospitalized for failure to thrive because it prevented me from instinctively knowing that I should feed her more than the pediatrician recommended. He denied the petitions for custody filed by my husband Kit and by my mother. He cited my mother's age and Kit's treatment for depression as factors that would make them unfit. We have now appealed to the Virginia Court of Appeals in Richmond.